Welcome to the Equipped Agronomy Podcast, where we bridge the gap between seeding equipment and agronomy. Presented to you by Borgo Industries. My name's Curtis DeGoyer, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Along with Curtis, this is Jeff Strukoff, sitting across the desk, actually having a wonderful conversation with my friend Curtis.
And we're going to share that conversation with you.
Yeah. Like every other time we sit down, it's an adventure. You kind of blindside me with an idea. What are we going to talk about today, Curtis?
Well, we've talked about this topic a few times. Phosphorus in different placements.
I like
so. It's a pretty sexy nutrient, if I do say so. This one's not going to be so well. It is going to be on placement as well, but source. Yes, we're going to talk about different types of phosphorus, where we played with it in the seed row and the mid row.
This is one of those podcasts where we're not going to make any friends.
Well, I mean, you know what? There's going to be always arguments one way or the other with specialty types, where it's better in different soil conditions. But what we're going to present on today is in St. Brieux, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Gray wooded soil, where we do the trials. This is what we saw. Yep. And there's no argument because that is what it is.
Yeah. Facts are facts.
That is exactly it. And we've got a few years here of information. So we're gonna look at both dry forms, and also we put a liquid kit on back in the day, and we were looking at some liquid forms. So I think that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. So we've got a few years of information here. So why do we need to look at this? And I think the biggest thing that I noticed in questions is it all stems from just low phos levels in the soil, right? How do we get down more? Well, top out at 25 actual P2O5 in the seed row, typically with MAP 1152, right? The most standard type out there. Okay, that's the safe rate. That's all we can put down. Well, then comes along some safer ones, and I'm going to use
lower salt index.
Lower salt index, exactly. Should be safer in the seed row. Well, let's push it then. Let's put more in there in the seed row and more available. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from. And that's good. I mean, if that's what's going to work, then perfect. Let's get more phos down. Excellent. Great idea. But then we also threw in, let's keep it safe there, and then we'll throw some in this particular one here into the mid row, because we've done a lot of work with that.
Yeah, I think it's important when we're talking about, whether we're talking about sources or whatever, we do have to talk about the split.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, honestly, that showed up. So, yeah, I mean, we do a lot of different trials specific for that, but that one kind of showed up in this one. Kind of caught me off guard, actually.
Split phos wins every time.
It's tough to beat.
Yeah.
Okay, let's set up the trial for you. Okay, so 2022, we're going to start in 2022, source and placement. 2022, pretty decent year that year. Yeah. Because 21 was very, very
22,
dry.
I would classify as the best crop we've ever grown in our area. Ever. Yeah, in history.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big year. Big year.
Big pulses.
I haven't been here forever like you have.
Well, I know. You call me freaking old.
I didn't say as experienced, and you've been around. But in any case, good year, 2022, good moisture. We're up into the 50s, 60s. So phos, we had a control. So 0 P2O5. And then what we did was we set up 4 different sources, 4 different types of phosphorus fertilizer. Mm-hmm. MAP, 1152, standard. Then we had S15, 13, 33, 0, 15. Half of that 15 is elemental. Yes. And then we had top phos in there as well, another fertilizer, and then synchro. So synchro is kind of half and half between.
It's a blend of crystal green and regular MAP.
Yes, exactly. Into one prill. It's not a blend. It's a one prill kind of thing there. So, again, some of them, there's some sulfur in here.
Actually, even if we just back up for 1 second and talk about the field history of all these fields that we're actually farming right now, as far as doing a trial like this, I don't think you could pick a better spot because the soil test levels that come back like on a part per million basis is so low. It seems like any source or any type of placement, you're going to get a response of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, and we saw that here. Like we're in the single digit parts per million, right? Yeah. And we saw that across the board in 2022, where the control was just the lowest yield, significantly lower across the board on that. So the drill we used, 10-inch spacing, 3/4 inch knife with mid-row banders. That's how we set this one up. So we got 4 different sources and then 2 different placements. We had all of that product, 50 P2O5 going in the seed row of each respected product there.
With canola.
So, I mean, the rates are changing because there's different percentages, right? Mm-hmm. So, but we targeted 50 P2O5 into the canola. We also did this with a split. So we put 25, so the safe rate, call it 25 P2O5 going into the seed row, the other 25 going out in the mid row. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the results, every time we had that 50P, I shouldn't say that, sorry. Let's start with MAP. 50P in the seed row versus the split, 25 and 25. Significant decrease in plant stand.
Mm-hmm. Which you would expect. Which you would expect, yep.
Yep, decrease in there. Yield-wise, slight bump in the split. Mm-hmm. Okay. S15, significant decrease in plant stand versus the split in that same product, right? So we went 50P and then 25 and 25. Yep. Okay, so there was a reduction in plant stand. So was it any safer? Not according to these numbers.
No.
Which I would say that might be a thought out in the industry.
Sometimes people do claim that it is safer, but even when you look at the salt index analysis of regular MAP versus S15, they are actually very similar.
Very similar? Yeah. Okay. I mean, it does have some sulfur in there. Half of that's elemental.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So no different, there was a difference, a decrease when we went to high rate. What about the yields? Slight increase when we split.
Yep.
Actually significant. There was like 3 bushel difference.
Yep.
61 to 64 bushels.
Mm-hmm. Every time we split in this trial, the yield went up.
Gosh, you're giving away.
Sorry.
So top Phos now, 50 P2O5 in the seed row versus the split, 25 and 25. Slight decrease in plant stand, but not significant. Okay. So now are we getting into a lower salt product, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, it might be doing what it's saying it's doing as far as we can put more in the seed row without hurting our plant stand. Safety. Okay. Like you alluded to, the split though, there was almost a 2 bushel difference when we split. Mm-hmm. Over two, almost 3. Again, okay, so that trend's still showing up. What about when we went to synchro? So this one is the crystal green and with 1152 in a single prill, right? This was interesting in that no difference in plant stands, right? So
it did actually prove to be safer.
It did prove to be safer. 50 P2O5 in the seed row versus 25 in the seed row, the other 25 out in the mid row. No difference in plant stands there. Equivalent to the control. Yield-wise, again, still that difference in the split.
Split P was better again.
Yeah. Split P again. So what does this all mean? And that split just didn't matter what source it was. It just seemed to be showing up. Okay, well, what happened in 2023 now? That was a drier year at the end.
Yes.
Yeah. Good moisture at the start, 3 inches of rain kind of till June, and then like nothing at all. Dried right up. We were still in the 40 bushel canola crop yields, which is good. But did we have a lot of big results? Good moisture at seeding time. Did we see that same kind of a trend? 50P, we could actually get away with putting 50P in the seed row of MAP. S15, slightly lower with the 50P. Top Phos, slightly lower with the 50P. Kind of what we saw the years previous there. Synchro was exact same again. So was there the big differences there when it came to the splits this year? Not really.
No,
there was no significant differences in yield this year, not even from the control. Yeah. So that's why it's so nice to have the control in there, because did phosphorus really play a role? Well, didn't matter which one it was.
Yeah. What
type, what source, where it was. We were kind of limited, I think, by other things, moisture maybe being one. And then we didn't, so we had 2 years of trials with that. So again, there's going to be differences here. Safety-wise, potentially there's, that synchro showed up a couple times. So that's interesting. Is it more expensive, right? Are we dealing with more expensive stuff? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
You're not going to get any cheaper than 1152.
I think like if you go back to 22 again, just kind of evaluating it against 23, I think when you do, when you take the limiting factor of moisture out and you do see those significant differences in splits, I think it's one thing to point out when you don't have that one limiting factor there. It didn't really seem to matter whether you used regular MAP or any other source. The split showed that it did better, but anytime you used P, yes, you got an advantage over the control, but it didn't seem to matter what kind of P you used, you always got an advantage. But the biggest advantage was when you split any P source, that gave you the most.
Yeah. And I guess just to recap, when we're saying split, some in the seed row with the seed and then the rest out in the banders. And in this particular case, it's 25 and 25. Where that split lies, a lot of times we'll do 15 in the seed row, 35 out in the banders of actual P205 of 1152 products. So it was an interesting one. That was a lot of work too, that one, just a lot of different products, but
lots of cleaning out and everything like that. But it was definitely interesting.
The pattern in 22 was just amazing. It was just exactly that. So to shift gears a little bit, we're going to go back in time a little bit further, back into 16, 17. I think I had one. How did that work? It wasn't an exact same trial, but I know we played with it in 18, maybe 2. But anyway, we're just going to talk about 16 and 17 here. Yeah. Well, what about liquid, right? We had a bunch of dry products, but what about the liquid? And specifically in liquid, orthophosphate. Yeah. Orthophosphate. So, but we did want to compare it to regular 1034 liquid. Yes, exactly. So in these trials, we had our control again, and then we had a dry 1152 or MAP, and then we had our poly 1034, and then we had an ortho 624-6. So there's a couple of different brands out there. The most popular ones are Cooler, Alpine. Correct. I don't know if there's maybe more, but this particular case, we were using, we had Kugler 624, but an ortho with that. And we still set it up as a split. So I think the reason, that it was set up that way was to say, okay, if I'm only going to put 15 pounds of P205 in the seed row, right, that's not enough. Yeah, well, at the time, the orthophos people were suggesting that you would need, 3 to 4 gallons in the seed row. And that's it. Yeah. Which it kind of equated to about that 15 pounds. Yeah. So we were just doing it. So tell you what, that's what we're going to do. We'll evaluate 15 pounds of whatever source you wanted in liquid form versus MAP versus nothing. Just in the seed row. But we were still contributing 40 pounds of extra MAP in the mid row. Yeah. So that was our split phos trial. The setup there. And now you could argue, you could poke holes in that if you want to, like, well, you shouldn't have had any out in the mid row, but we had seen some benefits from that, right? And we were just looking at it as a safety product. Did it provide any more pop-up effect? Did it provide any safety? Did it kill more plants or not, right? Mm-hmm. And well, there was a significant difference, 10 bushel yield when we had phos versus no phos, which is kind of neat to see. Mm-hmm. Looking at plant stands, dry, the control is like 6.2 across those 2 years. Dry was 5.9. Poly was 5.5, 6.2 with the ortho. No significant difference across there, right? And so visually, and when we assessed it then, was there any bigger pop-up? Was there any maturity differences? There's no maturity differences there. No. Yeah. And that was even in another year or two where we played with it. No differences in that. Yeah. It's kind of nice when we have these, because these are all replicated. 3 times. And usually you can see the differences in flowering or difference. Big time. Yeah. No, all went into flower at the same time. All it was flower. I guess, not to harp on different products, because there's other reasons for, let's say, using liquid products. Yep, right? It's very easy. You can mix in some micros if you need. There's other products you can play with in there. You dump it into the tank, you mix it in, away you go. You don't tie up a tank in your air seeder Yeah, I know a lot of liquid obviously gets done down more south of the border there, right? And I think with planters and Manitoba, okay. Yep. But probably more so around planters. It's probably easier to get a liquid fertilizer kit, I would say, with maybe a liquid tank hanging off your tractor or something like that. They're just more, logistically speaking, I think it fits a lot more units, right? But is it enough to say, hey, we need to change, a 1300, we got to go ahead and put basically a bladder into that and have it available. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it just didn't seem like there was enough benefit to change ours. So I think that's why we wanted to do the trial. And what we found was, you know what? Dry works pretty darn good. The old 1152. And of course, so I guess maybe I started in the wrong order. That was 16, 17 when we're looking at dry versus liquid. And then we said, well, what happens about different dry products?
Yep.
And it just all came back to, use a cheaper form, not cheap per se, but like cheapest. But then put it in a right configuration, the right place.
Yep.
And for safety wise and for access in canola, that split has seemed to be working very, very well.
Because you're right. There are some significant, on a per ton basis, price differences between all these different forms.
Big time.
So yeah, it's something to consider anyway.
Yeah. And if we were actually trying to reach removal rates with those liquid products, like we're talking like 3 times more expensive. So if we were trying to put down, in this case, I guess we had like 55 pounds P205 shooting for a 60 bushel crop. It wasn't even it's not realistic to do it that way. So more just as a starter. So that was the trials on different product. Sure. Is there different areas? Is there different pHs? Our pH levels here in general were, 7s, right? We can get down into all those conversations about where some of these other products could potentially be beneficial.
They may shine.
They may shine.
This is just what happened in sunny downtown St. Brieux. Yep.
This is what we found here. And we're using 1152, I guess, moving forward, right?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing. And I think it's not as flashy or flashy, or did I combine 2 words?
I think
flashy or fancy, flancy. But I think that's important to ensure the economics are right in that too. So yeah. Was there anything else on the starters or the amounts that we can put down?
No, I think you just got to sit back now and wait for the phone to ring and see what we get crucified over what you just said, what Curtis just said.
Yes. Well, I think I was pretty fair in a lot of things here.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, the facts are facts, and you can argue all you want with feelings, but the facts still trump everything. So
yeah, and I guess we've talked a lot about the differences in the splits and why we think that might be benefit. Is it deeper? We're getting that down deeper. Are we just getting 2 feeding sites? There could be multiple of things, right? The other thing, I guess we haven't brought up, but we did do it. And just one last comment. We didn't really see a whole lot of differences in wheat either. We did this in wheat, and we did not see big differences in that, both maturity or anything. So I guess we didn't talk about it much. We didn't do the split in wheat. We just never have really seen a big benefit at all in splitting in wheat. Essentially just put it all in the seed row. Yeah. With a single knife and banders and that.
Cram it in.
In fact, for anything in cereals, they can just take a lot more. Didn't have to there was no benefit in the other fertilizers. 1152 MAP just seemed to work. Mm-hmm. Right? And we could push it, didn't hurt plants then. So that's basically the wrap up on that one. Cool. Well, I think we'll end her there. And we can continue that conversation off air maybe. But
there you go. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff.